Welcome to the Painting Coach, and in this video I'm going to show you how to paint a brand new Ogre Tyrant from the fantastic new Ogre More Tribes range. I think Games Workshop have absolutely nailed this army look. It's fantastic. A huge thank you to them for sending this out to me. Let's get painting. So the first thing I have done is prime this miniature using Chaos Black spray. Use whichever primer you prefer. And in the first teachable moment of this video, if you're going to put a helmet on your ogre, leave it off till last, because I'm now painting the flesh using Cadian Flesh Tone, and the helmet is just getting in the way. In fact, everything on this model is getting in the way. So I'm really, really sorry that you can't see everything I'm painting, but I am just taking my time building up this Cadian Flesh Tone. And what I'm trying to do is get a nice even coverage, so I am putting on 2 thin layers across all the flesh. When that's completely dry, I'm going to wash it using some Reikland Flesh Shade. This is because I want to pick out some of the detail, pick out all that scarring. But once we've got this done, we are going to leave the flesh here for a bit and move on to other parts of the model. And the first other part that we're going to paint is all the silver areas. Now, I'm using dark aluminium from Vallejo Metal Colour. If you haven't got this, then you can use Lead Belcher from Citadel's absolutely fine. And it's a fairly straightforward bit of work. You're just painting all of the bits that you want to be silver. Now, try not to spill any of this onto the flesh that you've just shaded. But we've got things like the weapon blades, we've got the helmet, the armor, we've got armor on the arms and the legs, obviously, and some of that back banner too. So just take your time with this. Make sure you've got nice even coverage across the model. Next up, I'm going to shade all of that silver using some Nuln Oil. Now, make sure you don't slop this on too heavily, particularly on the weapon blades. You don't want some really ugly blotchiness. And similarly, you don't want massive pools of this in the armor, because what that will do will just provide really unsightly raised areas. And if you do accidentally scratch it, it's just going to look horrific. So just take your time with this. You're painting it on basically in a nice thin layer. And then as it dries, keep an eye. Now, to make this metal look a little dirtier, a little more worn, I'm then going to take some Agrax Earthshade and paint this over all of the silver again. Now, it's really, really important that the Nuln Oil is dry before you do this step. So make sure that that is the case. And then I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm painting it over everything, making sure that it doesn't pool heavily in the recesses. I just want to make sure that I'm tinting all of the metallics so they just look a little bit more worn and a little bit more dirty. When that's completely dry, and it's really important that it's completely dry, I'm going to go back in with some of that dark aluminium on a very, very small dry brush. I'm going to stipple and dry brush across all of the silver, and this is going to build up a little bit of a texture, because what we want on this is really worn, battered metal. It's not a high polished metal color. So just work your way around the model doing this, obviously leaving those dark colors in the recesses and building up the color. To finish off, we'll do a little bit of edge highlighting using some chrome from Vallejo Model Air. Then something like Roomfang Steel from Citadel is perfect. Generally, I'm looking to drag my brush across all of the edges to get nice, crisp, hard edges. Take your time with this. Try not to put it on too thickly. As you see, I've got a very small amount on my brush and a very, very fine point. When it comes to those weapon blades, just draw lots and lots of fine lines at a 90-degree angle to the edge of the blade. Again, just to look like the blade is sharp, but it's quite worn. Moving on to the gold, I'm going to base all of this using Dragon's Gold from Two Thin Coats. If you haven't got this, then Retributor Armor is absolutely fine. In terms of things we're looking for, we've got a lot of the attachments where you've got hilts on the weapons. We've obviously got the trim around that big gut guard that the ogre's wearing, and we've also got the back banner. But really, you can pick and choose which bits you want to paint with the gold. Check your box art if you're not 100% sure. Just make sure that you've got nice even coverage. Now, as you can see, I'm popping this on. I am going to need to go back in and add a second coat. Really important to do that. Don't just thickly apply it. To add another metallic element, I'm going to take some Balthasar Gold, and I'm just going to use this to paint some selected areas. So for example, those stylized tusks that we've got coming out of the back banner, and any other little bits which I want to look copper. I'm then going to wash both of these colors, the gold and the Balthasar Gold, using some Agrax Earthshade, and that's because I want a kind of a colder gold, bit of a dirtier gold, rather than something that's nice, bright and shiny like a warm gold. When that's completely dry, and again, it's really important that it's completely dry, I'm going to take some glistening gold from Two Thin Coats. Now, if you haven't got this, Liberator Gold from Citadel is absolutely fine. And what I'm looking to do is kind of just stipple this onto all of the gold elements, a little bit like we did with the silver armor, but I'm not using a dry brush this time. I'm just using a normal brush. So use an older brush really, because it can be quite hard on the bristles. And as I'm working my way around, I'm just building this up. Now, generally, I want it to be quite bright in these areas, um, but just take your time. You can always tone it back down with some of the Dragon's Gold if it does get a little bit out of control. The last thing I'm going to do on the gold is take some white gold from Pro Acryl, and I'm looking to just pop this on those elements where you've got the absolute brightest lights hitting the model. So do use it fairly sparingly. If you haven't got this, you can mix a tiny, tiny bit of chrome in with your light gold color, but not too much, otherwise it will turn green. I'm then going to take some Hashut Copper and start to highlight up all the elements that I've painted with the Balthasar Gold. Now, like I said, there's the stylized tusks coming from the back banner, but also some of the charms that we've got across all the cloak and that the ogre is wearing around his neck. Of course, I glued the helmet on so you can't actually see me paint that. To start the verdigris, what I'm looking to do is take some Coelia green shade and paint this into all of the recesses. Now, I'm making sure that I paint downwards with this because that's kind of the direction water is going to flow, and that's where most of the verdigris is going to be. So as I'm doing this, I'm being very careful with the amount on my brush, and I'm making sure that it doesn't pool too heavily. Once the first coat's dry, I went in and added a second one a little bit closer to the bottom, and that just helps accentuate the color. To finish the verdigris, I then took some Nailac Oxide. I looked to work this into some of the recesses and painting towards the bottom where you're going to have the biggest amount of staining and the biggest amount of verdigris. Take your time with this, add a small amount on first. You can always go back in and add more later if you need to. Now, I've chosen to put the fur pelt slash cloak onto this model, which means I need to paint the flesh. And I want to paint this flesh a little different to the colour that I'm going to paint the ogre himself. So what I've done is taken some Skavenblight Dinge, and I'm just using this to base all of that exposed animal flesh that we've got underneath. Now, this cover's okay, but actually it did need 2 layers to give me a nice even coverage here. Again, I've put the pelt on. It's probably not the easiest thing in terms of showing how to paint things like the trousers and all the other accoutrements, but I think it looks cool, and rule of cool is essentially the most important thing anyway. The first highlight I'm going to do on that flesh is with Storm Vermin Fur. Now, what I'm looking to do here is just kind of paint down those raised elements, leaving the Skavenblight Dinge in the recesses, but I'm painting quite a bit of it with the Storm Vermin Fur. It's quite thin as well, so as it dries, it will blend down a little bit. So you can always go back in and add a bit more. If you put too much on, you can take some Skavenblight Dinge and just tone it down. The last highlight I'm going to do on this is a 50-50 mix of Storm Vermin Fur and Rakarth Flesh. And I'm using this very sparingly. I'm painting it inside the Storm Vermin Fur from the last step as well. And again, this just gives a nice highlight on this. It's kind of like a cooler colour just to contrast with the nice warm flesh of the ogre. With that Rakarth flesh on the palette, I'm then going to base all of the wraps with this, taking my time to make sure that I don't spill this on bits I've already finished and that I've got a nice even coverage. Now, generally, you can get away with 1 coat with this, but there are some areas where I did have to put a second. I then washed all of the wraps using Agrax Earthshade. And again, really important here, don't let it pool too heavily. You just want to tint them. You want to get it into those recesses so you can give the illusion of texture when you're looking at it on the tabletop. When that's completely dry, I went back in with some Rakarth flesh and started highlighting up the wraps. Again, leaving those darker colours in the recesses. So take your time with this. You can see I've got a really good point on my brush. I'm using a size 1 Artist Opus Series S brush. Check the link in the description and you can get up to 5% off using my code, and you also support the channel. So as I'm working my way across this, again, I'm focusing on just drawing lines, leaving the darker colour in all the recesses. To finish off all of this, I took some Pallid Witch Flesh and just highlighted really the top edges of all the wraps. Now, I'm not a massive fan of Pallid Witch Flesh, but it's a nice colour for this kind of thing. So just work your way around getting that done, and you should get some nice crisp highlights. If you put too much on, just pare it back with a little bit of Rakarth Flesh. Now, for all the boots, I based these using Abaddon Black. If you want to paint them a brown leather, I will show you some brown leather later on, but I've decided to go for black boots. And I just took my time here, making sure I didn't spill it on any of the metallics. For the first highlight, I took some Skavenblight Dinge, and I just like to work this across the raised areas that we've got in the miniature, just picking them out and trying to keep the lines fairly thin. If you do go very thick, you can always use some Abaddon Black just to go back in and thin them out. To finish the highlights on the boots and any of the black elements you want to put on the model, I took some Storm Vermin fur. And again, I just painted this inside the Skavenblight Dinge from the last step. As you can see, I've got a really good tip on my brush, not too much paint, and that just gives me a bit more control. So for the trousers, I wanted to paint the green trousers you can see on the box art. And this is, again, another example of where putting that fur cloak on has really messed up my ability to show you this. But essentially, I've taken some Lupercal green and I'm basing all the trousers using this. Now, Lupercal green doesn't cover particularly well, so I did need to put 2 coats on for this. I then took a 50-50 mix of Lupercal green and Sunz of Horus green, and I used this as the mid-tone. So I basically just left the Lupercal green in the recesses, and this helped me to pick out some of the brighter areas. Now, it is quite a bit brighter than the colour underneath. Again, because neither of these colours cover particularly well, it does blend down and gives you a bit of a nice transition. The last highlight is just with pure Sunz of Horus green, and what I'm looking to do here is pick out any raised folds or creases that we've got on the legs. Also maybe a little bit of line highlight or where they're going to catch the most light. So again, apologies, not the best model to demonstrate this on, but I hope that you get what I mean. The next thing I'm going to do is base all of the leather. Now, most of this is a little bit constrained because of the pose of the model, but essentially underneath all the armor on his arms, and if you can see the backs of his knees as well, he'll have some leather there. And what I'm using is some dryad bark, just taking my time, particularly when I get to the skin areas, but there's not a huge amount here. I'm also doing the scabbard of the sword he's got as well. To highlight all this, I'm taking some Doombull Brown, and generally I'm just trying to put a nice tight line highlight in here. I've not needed to go in and shade it because there's so little of it on display. Now, if you've got a lot more on display, you might want to shade it with some Nuln Oil, highlight it back up with dryad bark, and then go to Doombull Brown. But for this model, I didn't think I needed that. I then based all of that fur on that cloak with what else but Mournfang Brown, and just took my time not to spill this over bits that I'd already finished. Now, I've switched to a much bigger brush for this because it's quite a big area to cover and you want to get it into all those recesses as well. Really important that you've got nice even coverage at this point as well, so it did take me 2 coats in some areas. I then washed all the fur using Agrax Earthshade. Now, a key point here is to make sure that you really do work it into every little nook and cranny, every little recess that you've got on this model. Just take your time, don't slop it on too heavily, don't let it run or pool, because again, there's lots of bits of the model that we've already finished. When it was completely dry, I went back in with Mournfang Brown and started picking out some of the fur. Now, you could potentially dry brush this if you wanted to. I didn't. I wanted to just give it a little bit more volume rather than just catching those edges. Now, I'm not picking out individual hairs or individual furs at this point, so I'm pinning quite big clumps, only leaving the darker colours in the recesses. I then moved on to Deathclaw Brown and did pretty much exactly the same, except I'm being a little more considered now when it comes to some of the fur and the hairs that we've got on there. Again, I'm not painting individual ones, I'm painting fairly large volumes, but I am just refining it a little bit, keeping it inside the Mournfang Brown from the last step. For the last highlight, I took a 50-50 mix of Rakarth Flesh and that Deathclaw Brown. And what I looked to do here was really start to pick out some of the finer parts. So this is a little bit more focused on some of the fur, the individual hairs, and this just helps to pick it all out. Now, don't go massively overboard with this because you will just make it look like a desaturated mess if you do. Just take your time. You can always go back in and apply more if you need. I then based all of the red elements using Khorne Red. Now, this is one of my favorite red colors. It covers fantastically well most of the time, but you may need to go in and give some areas 2 coats. However, be careful because once again, we've got quite a lot of the model that we've already finished painting, so we need to be careful around these areas. Now, in terms of the red, I didn't think I needed to shade it, so I just took some Evil Sun Scarlet, which is a nice bright red. I look to paint this across all of the textured areas. So generally, all of the ties that we've got coming off things like the sword handle and from that massive scythe that he's got. Is it a scythe? I'm not sure. Is it a halberd? Who knows what it is? It's big and it's brutal. And I just look to leave the Khorne Red in the recesses, dragging my brush across the model where I can. The final highlight on all the red is with Wild Rider Red. Now, I want to keep this inside the Evil Sun Scarlet from the last step. Really important that you don't put a huge amount of this on. You might need to put 2 coats in just to get some of the vibrancy up, but you want to use very little. Just think about the bits that face upwards. So with all that done, it's time to go back to the flesh. Now, again, I really apologize for putting the helmet on. It's going to make it a lot more difficult for me to show you. So I've got some Cadian flesh tone, and what I'm looking to do is paint as much of the flesh as I can get my brush to, leaving those Reikland shaded scars in all the recesses. So I'm not painting big chunks. This is quite sporadic. It's quite spiky. There's a bit of stippling. It's not the best way to show you how to paint something, but obviously this is the effect to build up. Once that's dry, I'm then going to go with some Kislev flesh and start to refine the flesh even more. So I'm just painting it inside all of the scarring that the model's got across his arms, his shoulder. I'm trying to pick up some muscle volume as well, where we've got wrinkles and rolls. And obviously when it comes to the face, I am painting things like the nose, the eyebrows, the cheekbones, because you can see those through the helmet. So it's really important to have that really good tip on your brush for this. And then just to finish off, I'm going to take some Flayed One flesh and I'm going to paint this inside the Kislev flesh from the last stage. Not using a huge amount of this, but this really does pump up the volume on the model. It really does make it a lot brighter. And it also kind of makes the skin look a lot more worn as well, which is kind of the effect we're looking for. So this model still looks far too clean for my liking. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some more weathering. The first thing I do is take some rust and I'm going to do that, get some Doombull Brown. I'm going to thin this down, maybe about 3 parts water to 1 part paint. So it's very runny. I'm then going to dip my brush in the paint and then wipe it on a paper towel. So it takes a lot of the moisture off. I'm then going to run it into lots of recesses. So there's a lot of bolts across the model. I'm going to run them into these areas. Now, where I've got bolts going through gold, I'm not going to run it on there because I'm going to go for a bit more of corrosion on those areas, but just work your way around all the silver. If you've got any lines as well, so particularly on the helmet, there's a nice join. You can run some in there. Just nice and effective. For some fresher rust, I'm going to take some Skrag Brown. Again, 3 parts water to 1 part paint. And I'm going to paint this into some of those recesses where we put the Doombull Brown in the previous step. Make sure that Doombull Brown is dry. Now, when you put this on to start with, it will be quite bright, but as it dries, it will dull down and blend into the color underneath. And again, this is just a really nice, easy way of getting a slightly different rust effect. For all of the silver bits that we've got across the gold, I'm going to go for the Coelia green shade, and I'm just going to paint this into those recesses again. So it just gives a contrasting color. I'm not sure the rust would have looked right on the gold, but certainly this corrosion does help, and I think it sets things off quite nicely. For bloodstains on the weapons, I've taken some Khorne Red, and I'm just painting some variable length thin lines across this and putting them in the same place either side. This, again, gives you the impression of someone that swung and has cut through something. And then I'm thinning that Khorne Red down with quite a bit of water, and I'm just dabbling it along the rest of the brain, wiping it off with my finger. This just gives a kind of a darker red patch, and that just gives the impression of dry blood or blood that's been cleaned off after it's stained. The last thing I'm going to do is that bloody right fist to demonstrate his dedication to the bloody maw. And for this, I'm using Blood Angels Red contrast paint. I've mixed this 50-50 with contrast medium. And what I'm doing is painting over all the area in just one coverage to start with. And then I'm going to let that dry. Be careful getting this on other parts of the model. I get it all over the wrap, so I did have to go back in afterwards and fix that. When that's completely dry, I added a second coat of exactly the same mix, but just painted this closer to the fist and over the fingers because this just helps with a little bit of a blend going down through. So it's a little bit lighter at the top towards the elbow and a lot darker towards the bottom where the hand is. And then when that was completely dry, I added a third coat just on the hand area itself. And again, this just helped with that transition, makes it look a lot darker. So there we have it. This Ogre Tyrant is done and ready for the tabletop. Like I said right at the start, I really think they've nailed the look and the aesthetic of this race for Age of Sigmar. They are fantastic, and I cannot wait to build some more of them. Again, apologies for not thinking ahead and for sticking that helmet on, which, like I said, has just made it horrendously difficult, A, to paint, but B, to also show you what to do. So I do apologize for that. Let me know down in the comments below if you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like as well. Tell all your friends about it. Check out my other content here. I'll see you next time.